I never thought I'd be that guy. The one sitting behind a screen, spilling his guts to a bunch of strangers online, trying to make sense of the mess his life turned into. But here I am. If you've ever felt the ground disappear under your feet because someone you trusted ripped it away, yeah, then maybe you'll get where I'm coming from. Lisa and I have been married for 11 years. 2 kids, Ellie's 9, Max is 6. We live in a typical quiet suburb. PTA meetings, soccer practices, school pickups, weekend BBQs with the neighbors. You'd think it was picture perfect. Lisa always seemed like a superhero. She worked part-time at a local boutique, kept the house running like clockwork, helped the kids with homework, and still found time to do yoga every Thursday evening to stay centered. That was her thing. She called it her sanity slot. I respected that. God knows she deserved time for herself. I guess the first sign of trouble was too subtle to really call a sign. It was more of a feeling, like noticing a draft in a room with all the windows shut. You can't prove it, but it's there. She started dressing differently on Thursdays. Not like yoga clothes, more curated. Lipstick, eyeliner, sometimes even perfume. I asked once, jokingly, "Is your yoga instructor secretly Brad Pitt or something?" She laughed and said, "No, but maybe if you went to yoga with me, you'd look more like him." Charming, right? Still, I brushed it off. She's always had that sharp tongue. But I thought that was just part of her fire. Kept life interesting. Anyway, I never questioned the yoga sessions. I had work, and Thursdays were usually my late nights too. It made sense. Why would I suspect anything? We had a rhythm, a routine. And routines are safe. Until the night everything broke. It was a Thursday just like any other, except it wasn't. Ellie had forgotten her water bottle at home. She had dance class right after school, and Lisa was supposedly going straight from picking the kids up to her yoga class. Normally, I wouldn't have been home, but I got off work early. One of those weird schedule shifts. Lucky me, right? I saw the water bottle sitting on the kitchen counter. Lisa had already left with the kids and dropped them off, supposedly heading straight to yoga after. I figured I'd be the good dad and swing by the yoga studio to give Ellie her bottle. I didn't even call Lisa, just hopped in the car. But when I got there, the yoga studio was dark. Not just dimmed for meditation kind of dark. No cars in the lot, lights off, closed sign in the window. I even walked up to the door and peered inside. Empty. Not a soul. I stood there for a second, not even processing. Then I did something I'd never done in over a decade of marriage. I tracked her phone. Don't ask me why I had it set up. It was just one of those Find My iPhone things we installed ages ago. Mostly to locate Max's lost tablet. But right then, I opened it and saw her little dot pinging. Nowhere near the yoga studio. She was downtown. Not near the gym. Not near any store. She was at some artsy street I didn't even recognize. Curiosity morphed into suspicion. Then suspicion into a cold panic I felt deep in my gut. I drove. I didn't even know what I was expecting. Maybe she went for drinks with some yoga friends? Maybe she was buying me a surprise? Maybe. But when I parked and walked toward where her phone was pinging, I realized exactly where she was. An art gallery. From the outside, it looked like one of those pop-up creative spaces, half cafe, half exhibition. Lights warm, soft music playing, laughter echoing. A little sign outside read, "Live Abstract Painting Night, Open Session." And there she was. Through the big front window, I saw her. Lisa, in a red wrap dress. Her hair pulled back, face lit up, cheeks flushed with color. She was laughing, really laughing, in a way I hadn't seen in years. Not with me. Not around the kids. Not in our house. And next to her was a man. Tall, lean, with charcoal-streaked hands and a smug grin. They were both barefoot, their hands dripping with red and blue paint, smearing it onto a massive canvas. Their bodies were way too close. His hand brushed her waist like it belonged there. Hers didn't pull away. Then, and I swear this hit harder than if I'd caught them naked in bed, they kissed. Right there in the middle of the gallery, between smudged brushstrokes and half-sipped wine. Not a messy kiss. No lust. No guilt. It was intimate. And in that one moment my world split. She wasn't just cheating. She was thriving somewhere else. Without me. With someone else. A version of her I didn't know. Maybe never knew. That's when I realized. I hadn't just lost my wife. I'd never even really known her to begin with. I stood outside that gallery for what felt like hours, though it was probably just a few minutes. Frozen. Watching. Processing. Dying a little inside. Lisa looked radiant. God, I hate that word now. But that's the only way I can describe it. She looked alive in a way I hadn't seen in years. Like someone flipped on the lights inside her and I was just realizing she'd been dim with me all this time. She had always told me she didn't do art. Said it was pretentious and messy. That museums gave her headaches. But here she was, barefoot, smiling. Her hands coated in paint, swirling colors across a giant canvas with some man I didn't even recognize. She wasn't bored or pretending. She was home. I snapped a photo through the window. I don't know why. Maybe to prove to myself it wasn't a hallucination. Maybe because I already knew she'd lie. I needed something real. Something she couldn't gaslight me out of. I left. Quietly. No confrontation. No yelling. I didn't trust myself not to implode. Back in the car, I sat staring at my phone, watching her dot on the map like it might change. Like maybe it would shift back to the yoga studio, and I could pretend none of this happened. But it didn't. She stayed there. With him. I picked up Ellie from dance. She was all smiles and glitter and oblivious innocence. I pasted on a smile. I didn't know what else to do. When Lisa got home later that night, I was already pretending to sleep on the couch. She walked in around 9:30, in the same red dress, but now wearing a zip-up hoodie over it like some weak attempt at modesty. Her hair was up, makeup still faintly there. No yoga mat, no gym bag, no trace of sweat. Just her and a faint scent of wine and acrylic. She didn't even check if I was awake. Just went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, poured herself a glass of water like it was any other night. Then she walked upstairs. And just like that, the lie continued, neat, easy, unchanged. Like she really believed I was too blind, too dumb, or too indifferent to notice. That was the night I realized something else. It wasn't just about the cheating. It was about the fact that she didn't even feel guilty enough to hide it well. The next morning I acted normal. Or at least I tried to. I made breakfast like I always do, eggs for the kids, coffee for her. It was a sick ritual now, this routine that hid 1,000 cracks. Lisa came down, all smiles, hair still damp from a quick shower, wearing leggings and a hoodie. Her yoga look. "Thanks, babe," she said, kissing my cheek like nothing happened. Like she hadn't been painting abstract fantasies with another man less than 12 hours ago. I almost laughed. The audacity. Over breakfast, I casually asked, "How was yoga last night?" She didn't even blink. "Good. Hard. We did a bunch of core work and breathing exercises. I'm sore." She lied, so easily, so fluidly, without a flicker of hesitation. The kind of lie that doesn't come from panic but from practice. I stared at her. I could feel the photo on my phone like it was burning a hole in my pocket. Her with him, covered in paint, lips touching. Art class, my ass. Didn't you say they were switching locations? I drove past the studio last night. It looked closed. She paused. Just a beat. Barely noticeable, but I caught it. "Oh," she said, reaching for her coffee. "Yeah, they're remodeling. We had a temporary space. Near downtown. It was chaotic. You didn't mention it before." "I forgot." She smiled. "You forget things too, Mark. Don't start acting like a detective." That was her default. When cornered, she attacked. A sharp, passive-aggressive jab followed by a fake grin. Classic Lisa. I nodded and dropped it, for the moment. But inside, the storm was building. That night, after everyone went to bed, I opened her laptop. I'd never snooped before. I always believed trust was the foundation of a good marriage. But once you see your wife's lips on someone else's face, trust becomes a fairy tale you tell yourself before it all burns down. She had a second email account. Not her regular one. A Gmail with her maiden name in it. Tucked away in her browser history like a rotting secret. And in that inbox, Dozens of emails. From him. His name was Jasper. Of course it was. Some trust fund artist type who spelled color with a U and called himself a visual storyteller. Barf. They wrote poetry to each other, shared playlists, talked about freedom, energy, and real connection. It was nauseating. Worse, this had been going on for almost 9 months. Every Thursday yoga night was their private little paint-splattered affair. Sometimes at his studio, sometimes at an Airbnb. Once, disgustingly, even in the back room of the boutique she worked at. She didn't just cheat. She made a lifestyle out of it. I couldn't sleep after reading those emails. Who could? By the time the sun came up, I wasn't angry. I was cold. Numb. Like every cell in my body was conserving energy for the war I knew was coming. I waited until the kids were dropped off at school. She was sipping coffee at the dining table, scrolling her phone, wearing that smug everything's fine face. I sat down across from her. Calm. Steady. "Who's Jasper?" I asked. Her head jerked up like she'd heard a gunshot. The phone slipped slightly in her hand, but she recovered. Fast. "What? Don't play dumb. I saw the emails. The pictures. The paint-stained affair you've been dragging out for 9 months behind my back." She blinked, then narrowed her eyes. "You went through my stuff?" Wow, that's where she went first. Not "I'm sorry." Not "it's not what it looks like." Just straight to "how dare you catch me." "Yeah," I said. "I guess I got tired of being lied to every Thursday night." "Yoga, huh?" She scoffed. "Okay, you want the truth?" she said, setting her mug down harder than necessary. "Fine. I needed something real. Something that wasn't about soccer practice and grocery lists and pretending you're listening when you're not. You needed to an artist? Better than being invisible in my own marriage. That hit harder than I expected. Like a cheap shot in a bar fight. But I didn't flinch. "So your solution to feeling unseen was to start dating a charcoal-smeared hipster who paints with his elbows? You had kids, a husband, a life, and you just what? Moonwalked out of it for Thursday night orgasms and Jackson Pollock foreplay? Don't you dare judge me," she spat. "You checked out years ago, Mark. This house, this life, it became a prison. Jasper reminded me who I used to be, who I could be." "That's funny," I said, "because you used to say yoga reminded you who you were." She laughed, bitter, sharp. "Yeah, and you believed that too." Her tone wasn't regretful. Not a trace of shame. Just defiance. Like she'd been waiting for this argument, practicing it in front of a mirror. "I wanted to tell you," she said finally. "But every time I tried, you'd come home talking about bills or work or how the dishwasher smells weird again. There was never a right time." "There's no right time to drop a nuke," I said. "You still don't get it. You didn't just cheat on me, Lisa. You detonated our whole damn family." She didn't respond to that. Just stared at the floor, tapping her thumbnail against her mug. That was the moment I knew. She wasn't sorry. Not really. Not about me. Not about us. She was only sorry she got caught. After the confrontation, things got weird. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't even really try. She just went upstairs and slammed the door, like we'd argued over where to put the laundry basket. Not that she'd nuked our marriage with a paintbrush and an orgasm. That silence the house took on. It was the loudest thing I've ever heard. The next day, she was all business. Calm. Cold. No apologies. No explanations. Just this quiet expectation that I would, what? Move past it? Be okay again? Pretend it was a phase? She said, "We need to talk about how we're going to handle this with the kids." I said, "We? You lost your privileges the second you slipped out of your yoga pants and into Jasper's apron." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Mark." That phrase. That's what really made me lose it. Not the cheating. Not the lies. It was that damn tone. Like I was the unstable one for not calmly accepting my role as the betrayed idiot. She started gaslighting me. Subtly. Cleverly. Telling me I was always distant. That she tried so hard to fix things but I just shut down. That I withheld affection. that she felt more like a roommate than a wife. Convenient memory. Huh? Funny how none of that ever came up in real life before Jasper started showing her his brushwork. I reminded her of the anniversary dinner I planned last year. The one she skipped to stay home with a headache, while I now know she was at a gallery showing. She shrugged. It wasn't going to fix us. Like I was supposed to applaud her for not wasting my time? She moved into the guest room that night. Took her phone, laptop, a stack of journals, and weirdly, a box of Polaroids I'd never seen before. I wanted to ask, but I didn't. I didn't want to know what kind of art they'd made together. We barely spoke for 3 days. Just logistics, kids, school, dinner, homework. The same small talk you'd have with a bad coworker you're forced to sit next to. And the worst part? She was fine. Like disturbingly fine. No sobbing. No guilt. Just this strange, peaceful vibe. Like she'd finally untied a knot that had been strangling her. Meanwhile, I was waking up in cold sweats, replaying her smile in that gallery over and over, wondering if I ever really knew her at all. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know more about this Jasper clown. So I did what any desperate, spiraling husband does at 2 a.m. with too much time and not enough self-respect. I cyberstalked the bastard. Instagram was a goldmine. Of course it was public. Artists crave attention. Jasper Rivers, yeah, that's his actual name, posted photos of his work that looked like a kindergarten explosion on canvas. Abstract swirls, dripping paint, lots of captions like, unleashing the chaos within, and, she is the muse and the moment. Guess who she was? Lisa. Right there. In one of his posts from 6 weeks ago. Back to the camera. Her red dress slipping off one shoulder. Head tilted, paintbrush in hand. Caption. The woman who reignited my vision. Thursdays belong to her. Thursdays. Our Thursdays. I was shaking. Not just from rage, but from the pure humiliation of knowing how public it all was. He made her into some mythical figure. His muse, his light, his Thursday ritual. While I was back home heating up mac and cheese for our kids and folding laundry. The comments were even worse. People fawning over the mystery woman. OMG, the red dress again. Fire. She brings out something electric in your work. You two have insane energy together. They had a fan base. I wanted to message him. Hell, I wanted to drive downtown and throw him into one of his own canvases. But I didn't, because deep down I knew this wasn't about him. He was just the symptom. She was the disease. Still, I had to say something. I couldn't let her pretend anymore that this was all just a mistake or a moment of weakness. So I printed out screenshots, the emails, the photos, the comments, all of it. I put it in a manila envelope, walked up to her guest room, and tossed it on her bed without a word. She looked up from her phone. What's this? Jasper's love letters to your soul. She opened it, flipped through silently, then smirked. Wow, she said, not even denying a single thing. You really investigated, didn't you? Had to. You were too busy painting your freedom on a man who uses the word divine unironically. She didn't respond, just pushed the envelope aside and said, You done playing detective now? That was it. No remorse. No apology. Just attitude. Lisa wasn't sorry. She wasn't confused. She wasn't even conflicted. She had already picked her side. And it wasn't mine. After the envelope drop, I expected something. Tears. A breakdown. An apology. Maybe even a confession. Anything remotely human. But Lisa, she just became colder. Sharper. Like I'd finally triggered her final evolution. Lisa, queen of detached arrogance. She didn't come down for dinner anymore. Started buying her own groceries. Left little sticky notes on food in the fridge like we were passive-aggressive roommates. One night, I walked into the kitchen and found her sipping wine, barefoot, scrolling on her phone with a little half-smile. She looked up. You know, you don't have to make this more painful than it needs to be, she said casually. I stared at her. You cheated on me for 9 months, Lisa. You blew up our family. What part of this was not going to be painful? She shrugged. I didn't blow anything up. Things were already broken. You just didn't want to see it. There it was again, the revisionist history. The version where I'm the inattentive husband who drove her to cheat. The version where her actions were just a symptom of my flaws. You could have left, I said. You could have told me. But then I'd be the bad guy, she said, sipping her wine. This way, I got to feel alive before becoming the villain. She actually smiled after saying that. I walked out. I was done trying to find the old Lisa. She was gone. Maybe she never existed. But the final knife came a few days later. I was in the garage, grabbing something from the overhead shelf when I found a box labeled college stuff. Thought it was mine. It wasn't. Inside were journals. Hers. From before we were even married. Curiosity got the better of me. I read a few pages. One entry stood out. Mark is nice. Safe. He listens. He'll make a good father. But I don't think I'll ever feel fireworks with him. Another. Sometimes I wonder if I'm choosing stability over passion. But passion doesn't raise kids or pay the mortgage. I sat on the concrete floor, reading page after page where I was reduced to a utility. Paycheck. A backup plan. She'd never seen me as her great love, just her safe one. It explained everything. The way she weaponized affection. The way she rolled her eyes at small gestures. The way she tolerated intimacy. She never fell out of love with me. She was never in love to begin with. I was just the placeholder until she figured herself out. Until Jasper showed up, reeking of linseed oil and midlife crisis. That night I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, finally understanding the most painful truth of all. I was never her priority. I was just convenient. The silence between us wasn't awkward anymore. It was permanent. Like the house itself had decided to stop pretending we were still a family. I started sleeping on the couch full-time. Not because I had to. I just couldn't stomach the thought of breathing the same air as her at night. Every creak in the floorboards made me wonder if she was texting him. Every time she laughed under her breath, I imagined it was because he sent another one of his deep metaphors about her being his flame or some other pretentious crap. Then one morning I printed out the divorce papers. I left them on the kitchen table. No ceremony. No warning. Just silence. She saw them when she came down for coffee. Picked them up. Flipped through the pages slowly, like it was a brunch menu she wasn't interested in. Then she looked up. No conversation first? She asked with that fake innocent tone. You had 9 months worth of conversations with Jasper, I replied. I think we're past talking. She looked at the papers again and laughed. Like an actual laugh, short and sharp. God, you're dramatic. I lost it. You cheated on your husband. Lied to your children. Built an entire second life while pretending to be some suburban saint. And I'm dramatic? She raised her hands like I was the problem. We weren't happy, Mark. You want to keep playing the victim, go ahead. But let's not act like this marriage was perfect before Jasper. It wasn't perfect, I said. But it was real to me. I was in it. I was committed. And you? I was bored. She interrupted, just like that. You want honesty? Fine. I felt like a ghost in my own house. Jasper made me feel alive again. Not judged. Not invisible. Alive. I stared at her. This woman, this stranger, who looked like Lisa but was now spitting venom and self-righteousness like she was doing me a favor by finally being honest. You could have left with dignity, I said quietly. But instead, you chose deceit and Instagram captions. She didn't respond. Just walked upstairs with the papers in hand, like she was carrying a pizza flyer. That evening, she texted me from the guest room. I'll sign them. I want 50-50 custody. Let's not make this a war. Right? Like we hadn't been at war the moment she chose to live for Thursdays instead of us. The next week, she moved out, rented a loft closer to the city. More space to paint. I helped her pack for the kids' sake. Ellie cried. Max didn't understand. I didn't either. As she drove away, I watched through the window. She had her hair in that same artsy bun, wearing that same damn red dress. It hit me all at once. She was never coming back. Not just to the house, but to us. After Lisa left, the house echoed. Not from noise, from absence. Her perfume wasn't in the air. Her heels didn't clack down the hallway. Her mug wasn't left half full on the counter anymore. And despite everything, that emptiness made me feel hollow, like I'd been punched and was still waiting to exhale. The kids noticed fast. Ellie, ever the observant one, asked, "Why is Mommy's closet empty?" I froze. You'd think I would have prepared for that. Rehearsed something. But how do you explain to a 9-year-old that her mother traded stability for paint and poetry? She moved into a new place, I said gently. So you'll have 2 homes now. Is it because of you guys fighting? I nodded slowly. Yeah, we had some problems, and we decided it's better to live separately. Ellie didn't cry. She just turned her eyes to the window and whispered. She never said goodbye. That one cut deeper than all of Lisa's lies combined. Max was different. Too young to understand, but old enough to notice routines were breaking. He kept asking when Mommy was coming back to read him stories, when she was making pancakes, when she'd sit with him during cartoons. I couldn't answer, so I started doing those things. Even though I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I tried, because if I didn't, who would? And then Thursday rolled around. The first Thursday without Lisa. I dreaded it, not because I missed her, but because I wondered what she was doing right now. Was she in Jasper's arms? Was she dancing barefoot with a wine glass, throwing paint across another canvas, giggling about how free she finally felt? Did she think of us? Of her children? I put the kids to bed early, sat on the couch in the dark. No TV, no phone, just me and the truth. I remembered a quote from one of her journals. I want to live a life that feels like art. She got her wish, but she forgot that art, for all its beauty, often leaves a mess behind. And here I was, cleaning it up with bedtime stories and fake smiles, while she created masterpieces with the man who made her feel seen. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired. About a month after she moved out, things started to feel survivable. Not better, not healed, but at least manageable. The kids were adapting. Ellie stopped asking where Lisa went every morning. Max finally stopped setting out an extra plate at breakfast. I was settling into the brutal rhythm of solo parenting, making lunches, braiding hair badly, and Googling how to remove crayon from a dog's fur. I thought the worst was behind me. Then I got the message. It was late, maybe 11 p.m. I was scrolling through emails when one popped up from a name I didn't recognize. Olivia M. Subject line. You don't know me, but I know Jasper. I almost didn't open it. Thought it was spam. But something made me click. And just like that, another floor dropped beneath me. She wrote, Hi Mark, I know this is strange, but I feel like you deserve to know the truth. I was seeing Jasper too. I met him last year at an exhibit. He said he was single, emotionally open, looking for something sacred and real. We were together for 5 months. He talked about his muse often, but I didn't realize that was your wife. I found out about Lisa because she messaged me after seeing my name pop up in his tagged photos. She accused me of stealing him. Mark, I didn't know he was seeing multiple women, including your wife, until it all blew up. He's a manipulator. I think Lisa's not the only one he's told she was his inspiration. I'm sorry if this hurts, but I thought you should know. Take care, Olivia. I stared at the screen, trying to breathe. It wasn't just betrayal now. It was betrayal built on betrayal. Lisa hadn't just destroyed our marriage for some great love. She gave up her family for a man who was stringing her along too. A man who had muses like normal people have coffee mugs. The irony? She left me for excitement, for truth, for passion. And the man she left me for was playing her like a fiddle in a gallery full of backup dancers. I should have felt vindicated. I should have laughed. Instead, I felt pity, not just for myself anymore, but for her, because she blew up everything, for nothing. I didn't respond to Olivia right away. I needed to sit with it, let it breathe. But the next day, curiosity won. I opened Lisa's Instagram, the one she swore she kept private. It wasn't private anymore. Her feed was different now. No kids, no family photos, just abstract paint shots, moody lighting, and self-indulgent captions like, "Sometimes, you have to burn everything down to finally feel the sun. Art doesn't lie. People do. She's not broken. She's becoming." She'd become an art world cliché. But then I noticed something odd. Jasper wasn't in her photos anymore. Gone. Erased. I clicked through his page. Still public. Still smug. Still full of divine mess quotes. But no sign of Lisa. Just a new woman, younger, thinner, posing next to another canvas. Different muse. Same pattern. And that's when it clicked. Lisa didn't find freedom. She found another prison. Just one with better lighting and oil paints. That afternoon, I got a call from her. First time in weeks she reached out for something that wasn't kid-related. "I need to talk," she said. Her voice sounded off. No fire. Just static. I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop halfway between our places. Neutral territory. She showed up in a beige coat and sunglasses. Minimal makeup. Hair in a tight bun. Not the wild, Jasper-inspired free woman look she used to wear like armor. She sat across from me and said, flatly, "He's gone." I didn't say anything. He moved on. Said he needed new energy. Whatever the hell that means. Her mouth curled into a bitter half-smile. "Sorry to hear that," I said, and I meant it. Not for her, but for the version of her that actually believed she was his endgame. "I thought he got me," she whispered. "That he saw the real me." I leaned forward. "No, Lisa. He saw what you wanted to be seen. The same way you saw what you wanted in him." She nodded, stared at her untouched coffee. "I left everything for him," she finally said. "No," I corrected. "You left everything for you. He was just the excuse." Her eyes darted up at that, angry for a second. Then, "Nothing. I made a mistake," she said quietly. "Yeah," I said, "but not the one you think." She frowned. "You didn't just cheat on me," I continued. "You betrayed 2 kids who didn't ask for any of this. You traded bedtime kisses and pancake mornings for someone who uses the word vibe in serious conversations." She blinked. No tears. "You know what the worst part is?" I added. "You didn't even try to fix us. You just assumed I was part of your problem." "I was selfish," she admitted. "I thought passion would fill the hole." "It never does," I said, "because the hole is you. And until you fix that, no man, no artist, no husband, not even God, is going to make you feel whole." She looked down again. This time she was quiet for a long while. I stood up. "Take care of yourself, Lisa." And I left. It's been almost a year since that day in the coffee shop. Lisa and I finalized the divorce quietly. No courtroom drama. No fights over furniture. She got her loft, I kept the house. We split custody 50-50, the one thing she didn't argue about. Maybe even she knew the kids deserved more stability than she ever gave. Ellie still asks questions sometimes. Mostly at bedtime, when the lights are off and she thinks I can't hear the tremble in her voice. "Why doesn't mommy live here anymore? Did she stop loving you? Is love supposed to hurt like this?" I tell her the truth in pieces. No, love isn't supposed to hurt. Yes, sometimes people stop showing up the way they should. But it's not your fault. And it never will be. Max doesn't ask much. But I catch him watching couples when we're out. Moms and dads holding hands at the park, laughing over coffee. He stares like he's trying to remember what that looked like. I do what I can. I'm not perfect. I burn grilled cheese sandwiches, forget field trip forms, and once sent Ellie to school with mismatched socks for picture day. But I'm here. I show up. I listen. And that counts for something. Lisa, she still paints. Still posts. Her feed's now full of self-help quotes and solo selfies with captions like, "Unapologetically me." She never really apologized to me. Not properly. Not once. But honestly, I've stopped needing it. You can spend your life waiting for someone to acknowledge the damage they did. Or you can step over the wreckage and build something better with the pieces they left behind. That's what I'm doing now. I started journaling. I take walks at night. I cook for the kids. And I'm slowly learning not to set off the smoke alarm every time. I even started painting, believe it or not. Not because I want to be like Jasper, but because it helps. It helps release something. Because that's what healing really is, not pretending the canvas was never ruined, but learning how to paint over it anyway. If you're reading this and you feel like your world is cracking open, let it. Let it break. Let it burn. Let it expose everything false. And then rebuild. Not for them. For you. Mark. TLDR. My wife told me she was going to yoga every Thursday. Turns out, she was cheating on me with a wannabe artist named Jasper, living out some fantasy life in a downtown gallery. When I confronted her, she blamed me, said she felt invisible, and left to chase her freedom. Turns out Jasper had other muses, and she got burned. We're divorced now. I have the kids half the time. She has her paintings. I found peace in the silence she left behind.